Welcome to Mental Health Monday. My name is Mick Coyle. Coming up on the programme this week,
I just spoke and I said to my sister, no, I can't do this anymore. And she was like, oh, work or, whatever, because I'd never... And I said, I have to die.
What were your close friends saying to you at that time? Were there any of those sort of conversations taking place?
No, not at all. Because we're guys, we don't talk about it. We have a laugh. We don't get intimate or close about our feelings at all.
And I'll be reminding you how you can make connections with mental health organisations within your community. It's Mental Health Monday.
The home of the UK's conversation about mental health. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to Mental Health Monday. Great to have you with us once again for another either download or stream, however you check out the podcast, whether you connect to us through social media or through someone who's recommended it. Absolutely. Let me know. It's always nice to hear from people who are new to the programme, or even better, those who've been with us for years and years and years. Maybe you're even checking out random podcasts. Maybe you listen in order and you're going through them conversation by conversation. Each and every week we speak to someone with a slightly different story to tell, because we've all got a slightly different mental health journey that we're on. This week's guest is no different, and actually has put a book together. His name is Neil Kelders. Now, Neil, fantastic guest, got loads to talk about. His book is out now. It's called The Other Side, a memoir of hope in the midst of depression. And Neil's story takes in 1,000,001 different things, from living with depression, suicidal thoughts, coming back from suicidal thoughts, and finding a new pathway as well versus the life that you used to lead, thinking about things in a slightly different way to give you a new opportunity. There's so much in this book, and actually as part of it, Neil does these almost like notes. So he tells his story in almost an autobiographical way, but then he gives you the practical advice alongside, and we'll hear about that practical advice alongside that throughout the course of the conversation. A moment in the conversation as well where Neil talks about going to tell his sister-in-law about his thoughts and feelings towards suicide and the fact that he had suicide ideation. And it's really quite a moment. Someone's sharing a story with you and you think, oh, goodness me. He almost, I think it's down to the way he tells the story, puts you in that room with him and then takes you on that journey to offer you that insight that there is hope. And even in the darkest moments, trusting in hope, trusting in light, trusting in finding the light even if you can't see it, can put you on the pathway to living a life which can have hope, which can have contentment, which can have feelings of just being glad you're still here. Now, Neil's a great guest. He's written a book. It's out now. I'll put a link to it in the podcast notes so you can check that out too. First and foremost, I asked him about his decision to want to write this story and put it down in pen and paper.
I always kind of enjoyed writing in school essays and things like that. And I would pencil little notes down, if I felt a certain way. So I had a kind of a folder of days labelled of how bad I was feeling most days. And it was incredible to see the yo-yo effect of my depression and anxiety. So writing was something I always did, I enjoyed, but I suppose indirectly used it as a self-care process. Never saw myself writing a book. Of course, I had this fantasy to write a book. Like we have this fantasy to be a musician or an actor, but it's not for us because we can never achieve that. But I suppose I put that to bed and I achieved it. It came to light.
Absolutely. It's called The Other Side, a memoir of hope in the midst of depression. Depression is one of the things, obviously, you talk about in the book, but there's also anxiety and suicidal thoughts as well. I just wonder if you can maybe give us a sense, Neil, of where those things appeared in your life, at what stage you were at in life when those things started to present themselves.
Yeah, so I kind of label in the book, and for myself, I labeled 15 years of age is when I kind of clicked, will we say, because obviously I had manifested probably before that, but I was not aware of it in a sense. So why I label 15 years of age, because I suppose we've all been there in school and we're at home studying in our desk and it's dark outside and not being able to focus. I was the world's worst studier. And I just remember myself writing with a compass, I used to use in geometry and stuff, the Liverpool football team onto my desk, which my mother would be delighted, of course, with. And Robbie Fowler was going in, Stan Collymore. This is how old I am, guys. And then I had a big science book. And this year we have a junior cert in Ireland, which is kind of your first state exam, kind of testing you a couple of years before your main one. And I wrote suicide a couple of times in the book and designed it nicely, and writing suicide, and it was on my mind. And that was 15 years of age, and then shoot through right to 36 years of age when I first spoke about my mental health to anyone. So that's 21 years later, where I kept it inside. The outgoing, funny, one of the lads, let's have a few pints, let's play sports, do, this type of guy. When I was in a counselling session, and my counsellor said to me, "No, Neil, not everybody thinks of suicide." It was so ingrained in those 21 years that it was constant thought, not once a day, countless times a day, that I believed everybody thought about it. And I thought I had some ounce of intelligence, but obviously not. But not everybody thought about it. And that kind of was my wake-up call. It was, okay. There's something deeper here. So the book covers kind of my journey with my mental health. It's a resource. It's not just my story. The idea is there's Neil's notes in it. So I say, hey, hang on a second, put the book down. It's as if I'm speaking to you. Put the book down there, try this. And it's things I've tried, like thinking of past memories, stuff you can use, are songs that make you feel good, things like this. But the idea is that it follows my journey of when I fell out with friends, or if I was bullied, and all these things that probably had an impact on my life, or when my father left us. These things you try to shovel away, put to the side, but they drag you back constantly. So that's the book, is the 36 kind of 21 years of that, and to tell you that I still struggle, but I struggle my way. And what I mean by that is I can manage it effectively, and that's the idea behind it.
In terms of the thoughts, you mentioned the word there, and almost physically writing it down. As you assess what those 21 years, it's such a huge time in your life, and that period of time from mid-teens to mid-30s. How did those feelings manifest themselves when you look back around maybe behaviors, thought processes around sort of events, social events, work? How did that depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, how did that play out in those 21 years?
So straight away, I'll tell you that I believe the book is the first thing I've ever really finished. Okay, straight away. And people be there, and people, like, I've done 2 degrees. I've done a sports science degree and I've done a law degree, but I've never put my all into it, my whole focus into it, and that's my belief. I believe that I had a lot more to offer than I was giving, even in jobs. Because I couldn't focus. I was dipping up and down all the time. It wasn't in me. I was drained. I wasn't sleeping. That definitely is the first thing. I never finished everything. I was the guy that 3/4 finished stuff. Get excited, push, talk the talk, but I never walked the walk. I had all these ideas, and that frustrated me, and that got me low, and it created anxiety in itself. When I was younger, I was the clown of the class. Make everybody else laugh, get in trouble. I wasn't a bad kid, but I was a messer. I wasn't a studier. I would do anything to get out of class. School, I don't think that system was for me. I love learning without question. If I had a subject that I learned, I was acing it. If I didn't like it, forget about it. There's no point in doing it. And so I was always messing, in trouble, clown of the class, make everybody laugh. Playing sports was a big thing. I could have a great game one day, get man of the match. The next day I could nearly get sent off. My head was gone. And I would know that. I would be very inconsistent with that. Not knowing how to deal with. So me dragging myself out of bed to face you every day took me so much effort. Me to drag myself to a Irish football game, or a soccer game, I'll call it soccer, football, I would have to drag myself up to your level, and that energy alone before I even played a game or went to school consumed me, and I was exhausted. Then drinking. Out with the lads, sure, I'm not doing anything different. We go out on the weekends, we binge drink, we go from pints to shots to we stay out all night. But Neil wouldn't go home. People would say, geez, Neil, you're a great drinker, you stay out all day, you don't seem drunk. I wouldn't remember a thing that had happened, but it would seem that I was sober, and I could continue. There was days where I continued for 3 days out with finding different people to go out with, because I didn't want to go home and face my demons, and then the demons would be worse with the hangovers. So then I realized that drink wasn't great. I still have my few pints, but now I stopped having the shots, and I stopped this. So I can have a pint in the day, a pint of Guinness, and I'm happy with that. So I had to find my levels with that. So it came out in many different ways. Relationships, not being able to stick with them, going into the wrong relationships. Because I was lonely, I wanted a relationship for the wrong reason. I wanted someone there for comfort, but not all the time. So a lot of my relationships are long distance. Someone living in France, me here, someone, if I was in Ireland, living in Ireland, someone that lived 4 hours away. So I might see them every second weekend. I had my own time, which doesn't sound great from their point of view. And it wasn't, and from mine either, because it wasn't healthy. And then that relationship would run its course, and then I'd get depressed again, and all these. But there was something I didn't want. So there was many ways you can see.
Can I ask you on that? Because it's interesting that as that life is playing out and that experience is playing out, and you hinted at it there with the relationships, but also like the people in the pub with you. What were your close friends saying to you at that time? What were those people who were close to you saying to you about? We all sort of do, like, how are you getting on, or are you happy at the moment, or you seem a bit extra. Were any of those sort of conversations taking place?
No, not at all, because we're guys. We don't talk about it. We have a laugh. We have nicknames for each other. We have the banter. We pull the proverbial piss out of each other. This is what we do, and we don't get intimate or close about our feelings at all. Even the guys that I grew up with from childhood, we just don't do that. We banter and we Mickey take all the time in order to push people away, or that's our way of letting people in or something, So not at all. Because my friends would have been out on the lash, on the tear with me. My friends would have played sport with me, and they wouldn't have seen what was going on. And then when it came to light, when I did reveal about my mental health, it was amazing how many other people were struggling as well. And I never knew about them.
So we get to this age of 36 then, you mentioned earlier. What was the step up to that point where you suddenly thought this needs to be something which I either explore, or was there something which came to explore it on your behalf?
So it was just a revolving door every year, of the same thoughts, processes, dips in form. And on March the 16th, which is if St. Patrick's Day is March the 17th. So on March the 16th, everybody in Ireland, around the world, is in good form, and they're getting ready for a good day the next day, with parades in Ireland, and for a few pints and having a laugh with family and friends. And I recorded a video. I was working a long day. I used to have a fitness business in Ireland, working a long day, and I drove to outside my house and it's dark, and I did a video recording. And I labelled it "Time to Close My Eyes to the World." And the idea behind it, we recording it, was not to put it on social media or anything. It was that when my mother found that, it might give her a bit of peace. That, okay, geez, you know what, he had to go. Like, this is my illogical thinking. But that recording, when I look at it, there were countless times through those 21 years, I was at the end, I needed to go. But this time I couldn't do. I thought I'd exhausted every resource. I had gone down every avenue, but of course I hadn't. Without question I hadn't. And I just needed this pain. I was exhausted. I just wanted to sleep and not wake up. And that's what it is. It's this exhaustion of constant battering and battling. And some people don't like the word battling with mental health. And I'll tell you one thing, it bloody was battle. It was a battle every day. And I was being pushed from here to mind to body, and I was struggling. Did this video while everybody else in Ireland, my friends, my family, are out having a good time, getting ready for the festivities of St. Patrick's Day. I was contemplating, okay, this is it. I'm out of here. I have to go. That pushed me then a month later. Thankfully I didn't, but I was struggling big time, and I label this in the book. My brother lived close by me with his wife, and they have 4 kids, and I'm very close to the kids, very close to them. And I called into my sister-in-law for a coffee one morning, and as I walk in the house, they have this big glass double doors from the kitchen that go out to the garden, where they have a trampoline and football net and basketball net. And that actually was my escape when I used to visit my nieces and nephews, because when you're with kids, you can't but be present, right? So I would play with them. But I'm looking out, it's a beautiful April day, and I just spoke and I said to my sister, no, I can't do this anymore. And she was like, oh, work or, whatever, because I'd never, and I said, I have to die. And like, you can imagine her response was like, what? And I had to explain to her, I knew I had to explain, and like they have 4 kids and they're Irish names, so it's Saoirse, Caoimhe, Patrick and Liam, and very close to them. And I kind of explained, even though Saoirse, when she gets an exam result, she won't be able to call me because I won't be here anymore. Or if she goes to her dance at the end of school, I won't be here to take a picture with her. Or Caoimhe, who does gymnastics and jump all over me, won't be able to show me new routines and try to teach me gymnastic routines anymore. Patrick used to draw pictures of me, Mr. Muscle Man. He won't, and I was his muse in a sense. He wouldn't be able to use me anymore. And Liam would sit in between myself and my brother. I'm a Liverpool supporter, on the couch, and we'd watch the Liverpool game in our jerseys, and I would be missing from that. And even though I knew all of this, that they would miss me so much, and that they would never have to say my name again, my want to die was far greater than whatever suffering they would have after that. That was it. And that's how I explained it to her. And then she was like, and then when I talked, you know what happened? It was like this weight lifted. And I said, you know what? Geez, I'm grand now. And she's there like, what? I said, no, I'm perfect. It's great. That's how instant actually the impact of talking was. I said, I'm going to go. And she said, stop. What are you doing? Stop. So I said, look, I have to go downtown for a second. And she goes, okay, but come back, please. So as I was leaving, I said, look, do you know what? Don't tell my brother. Don't tell my brother. Okay. Yeah, Neil, she's not going to tell her husband, who's 10 years older than me, my eldest brother, who I look up to. So I leave, and as I come back to the house that day, they have this big black door with actually a window in the middle, and I knock on the door as I come back in, and of course who's walking towards the door is my brother. And he opens the door, and I was anxious now because I felt as him as my older brother. Family at times aren't the best people to tell, because they want so much to help you that they want to just take you and guide you. This is where we're going. This is where we're going. Where all you need at that time maybe is someone to listen. To objectively listen to you. So he opened the door and I was there, okay, here we go. And all he did, and this is probably the greatest moment of my life, he just pulled me in and he hugged me. And that was it. He didn't say a word. And I was kind of like, because we don't hug, we don't do this. And he hugged me and he held me and I let go. And I remember, if you're a kid and your parent hugs you and you just nestle into their shoulder. And I did that, and I was just there thinking, whoa, maybe things can be okay. Maybe something can happen. I don't know. But it just felt good, and I felt safe for the first time in a long, long time. So that was why I talked. Why did I talk? To this day, I don't know. I don't know why I did. My sister-in-law is a great person to listen. She can be impartial in a sense, rather than my brother and my other family would be engrossed in me. And I think she was in the right place at the right time. I think so.
What an incredible and honest account, Neil, of that experience. Huge as well in terms of that moment for you. Interested that you talk about the fact you talked about each of those children and what they'd kind of go through, and feeling that your suicidal thoughts were overpowering that. And yet, just moments after exploring that, there was the change of mind that although even as you were having those thoughts, you were thinking, but my thought or want to die is more important than wanting to have those moments. Within a moment, your brain had recomputed or refragmented around what it really wanted, or where it might find hope or opportunity in the future. The book's called A Memoir of Hope in the Midst of Depression. I guess we talk about the low point, presumably, is that moment of exploration of, even these good things, I can't see the good in it. Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It was as simple as that, because of course it's not going to be a thing and now I'm absolutely fine. But it's about, if we want to talk about turning the corner, or someone lighting a little spark, or finding a little bit of magic, or finding hope in the midst of despair. Was that the moment maybe that the brain and talking through that moment and thinking about, for instance, the nieces and nephews, that you suddenly thought, oh, hang on a minute, there is something here. There's something different. There's something more to be explored.
Do you know what? And I understand what you're saying. I think it was so ingrained, the suicidal thoughts, that I was just thinking of how logically I could tell my sister-in-law and make her understand. But I think when I told you the weight lifted off my shoulders, I was there, whew, wow, like I just talked and I feel good. You know, is it that simple? It can't be that simple. This is a complicated process. And that's the problem with mental health, right? We think it's a complicated process, that we need this, this, and this. And I can tell you, if you from reading my book, it's the simple things that have brought me back. We perform our way, we act our way out of our mental health. I will never tell you, and if anybody ever tells you, you can overcome your mental health, they're lying to you. They're not God, I'm not God. We don't know what happens in the future, but what I can tell you, and I said this at the start, is I can help you, we can help you manage it effectively. Because the questions I used to ask myself were, why me? And when's it going to end? So if you're asking those questions all the time, I'm in victim mode in a sense, and I'm just revolving around those questions, and I'm not looking at solutions to the problems. So now those questions don't enter my head anymore. When I'm low, I know what I have to do. When I'm low, I know maybe why I'm low now. And I don't think about it. I don't dwell on that. I just move forward. Then when I'm in a better place, I can say, okay, why was I a bit low that time? I focus when I'm level and I'm in a better place. So I think that the act of talking for me, that kind of pinned a little drop. But again, it gave me a false hope as well.
I was going to say, I was going to ask you about that, the next stages, if you like. So you have the movie moment of the hug with the brother, the credits roll, and, you know, good old Neil, he was going to be okay, the best. But of course, we know that life isn't as simple as that, and there's a different journey. So maybe take us through what happens then in terms of getting to the point you're at now.
Yeah, so I felt good. I told you I talked. What we did, actually, I'll just explain actually what happened after the hug. There's a place in Ireland called Pieta House. It's for people who self-harm and have suicidal thoughts. So my brother sat me down in the kitchen. He said, look, on the way here, I called them. They said they'll see you straight away. And I was like, no, I'm fine. Like, can't you see? I told you. And then I agreed to go, but it was for them, not for me. So straight away, guys, that's me not accepting the situation. And in order to address anything in your life, you have to accept it. That's the basis. You have to stop. First, I've always believed stop, accept, and then your other steps come into play. So we went to Pieta House and we drove, and I was expecting, right, this is my thinking. This is mental health. This is mental health problems. I should be going under the cover of darkness, right? You know, to an underground car park where they filter me into a door that no one can see me, because this is mental health. We cannot have him exposed. It's like court cases when they're underage, kid, you can't reveal the names, you know. But all we do is we walk in. As I'm walking in, first thing that I notice is a lot of teenagers passing me by. And I'm there, oh my God, like, they're teenagers. What would they have to, what issues could they have? Then eventually down the line, it clicked at me, wasn't I that teenager 21 years previous? But those teenagers had 21 years on me. And why I say that is because they have talked about it. Once a parent or somebody knows about someone's issues, that's a massive step. That's a massive step. It's much better to know than not know. And that was the issue. That's an issue with a lot of people at the moment. We don't know. So we walk up to the door and ring the doorbell. The speaker comes on. We go into a reception and there are people sitting there. And I'm there like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is mental health. Do you not understand this? And would you like a cup of tea or coffee, Neil? And I was there, oh, sure, give me a magazine as well while I'm here. Well, let's have a laugh all together. So I sit down with my brother and there's another, I think, a teenager with his parent opposite. And I'm like, I can't look up. And they're like, do they not, like, this isn't computing. And then my name is called and I go to a counsellor. And just on that with counsellors quickly is that I went to one counsellor, didn't click. Went to a second, didn't click. It took me my third one. People, and you probably hear this as well, people often say counsellors don't work. No. you find the right one for you. It's like finding the right personal trainer. It's like finding the right chef or whatever. You find the right person for you. The third person clicked with me, and we started sessions twice a week. And of course, I was there, I'm not going to talk. There's nothing to talk about, blah, blah, blah. But she was brilliant. And she was instrumental in helping me so far, because I analyze a lot of things, and I'll think about in convoluted ways about certain aspects, and I'll put them back. And if she didn't know, she would say, okay, I'm going to come back next week and research that, and so we'd have great discussions. And she said to me, Neil, I'm going to have to challenge you, which was music to my ears, because I didn't want to go in and talk about, well, when I was 4, this happened, and when I wanted, let's just have it. And she said, challenge you safely, and that's what she did. Then they extended my sessions. We came to about 25 sessions, and she said to me, Neil, I can't take you anymore. And that was, I knew what she was saying, because at that stage, I was just telling her what she wanted to hear. I had run my course with her, and then she clicked it, and she let her ego go, and she goes, I have to pass you to someone else. And I thought that was amazing, because she had my best interests at heart. But as I left that day, after the 25th session, I went outside, and I was walking, and I was there. I had my aha moment, I call it. It kind of clicked at me. And I was there, like, the counselling is amazing. It's brilliant. She's really, brought me around the good bit. I still struggle, but, it's working at a certain level. But what I felt that what I was doing was putting the fires out each week. Because I would struggle each week, put that fire out, struggle each week. How can I step beyond that? So I was in that comfort zone where everything was fine, but I needed to push beyond that. And what I labeled was win from within. What I mean by that is I had to take responsibility. That is the hardest thing anybody who is in the depths of depression or the highest of anxieties or overwhelm will want to hear. You're telling me I'm down here and I have to take responsibility? And I said, yeah, Neil, if you want to step ahead, you have to find ways to complement the counselling, to complement the secondary resources out there. And if you do that, I believe then you can step forward. And that's what I started to do. And that's what the book is kind of about, in a sense. That me taking responsibility, winning from within. And that's what I try to do every day. So that's what I found, simple things. And when I was saying to you, like, I find simple things. So we used to go to America during the summers and work in the building sites from college. We leave college, go play Irish football over and work in the building. I couldn't hit a nail with a hammer. But anyway, that was besides the point. But we would go, and every summer you'd have that song that was played that summer, like it'd be like the Venga Boys or something like that. Or one year it was Irish Goo Goo Dolls, And then I realised when I played that song, it made me think of happy memories. So if I was feeling anxious or low, I would get out of the house, stop what I was doing, get out into nature, put my headphones on, and just go for a little walk. And what I would do is I would watch things. If I saw a squirrel, I'd watch the squirrel. I'd listen. The music would make me feel good. It would bring back happy memories. And that's a simple tool I used just to bring me back around. It wouldn't completely turn me around, but it would be part of the process. So then I started to add things, find different things and add them together. And then I come up with a list of self-care tips. So if you look at the Neil's notes in the book, there's 25 of them, 25 different ideas that people can use. But you don't have to use my ideas, you adapt them as your ideas. So I hope that answers a bit of your question.
No, it certainly does. I was born in 1982, and all these cultural hit points that you're talking about, from Liverpool teams to songs that were big around those sort of key points of college and university, are all hitting. So I think we're very much a similar age. So I think it's interesting to almost place myself and think of those age groups and how I was at that point and how my journey sort of coincided with that one. I think it's really, really interesting. In terms of people who will think, okay, we can be in a better place and it's difficult to get there. Is it worth the effort? Is it worth the investment? If you're going to tell me, Neil, that actually I'm not going to be 10 out of 10 at the end, I'm not going to be perfect. How do we sort of square that off now when we talk to people about the fact that, yeah, turn your thoughts away from suicide and turn it towards hope, turn it towards life, turn it to something else. It's going to be a difficult journey. but the joy will be in that journey. And you're never going to get to that point where it's suddenly the light shines on you and your life becomes this perfect thing. Because of course we know that in reality, nobody's life is that perfect. How do we engage with people on that ride now? So they go, it's worth the effort. And it can involve those simple things as music, watching a squirrel, reading a book, learning an instrument, finding a new thing, going for a run, finding a new sports club, an activity, or things like that. And it will feel worth, even if it doesn't feel now like those things will bring you joy or happiness, those things will bring you joy and happiness, and they will put you on a path to happiness and hope and contentment.
First of all, I write this in my book, I do believe people that have taken their life, and two people very close to me have. And I know that one of them had scrapes in his neck from hanging that he wanted to stop. And I believe if every one of us had tried it and we were able to get out of it, we wouldn't do it again. It would be off the chart. It wouldn't even be something we would contemplate. Hamlet said, to be or not to be. Basically, in that soliloquy, he says, how do we know that things aren't worse on the other side? That always stuck in my head, basically, how do we know, like, it's not worse, on the other side? This could be our best shot. But life is a struggle, right? Without question, for everybody. But a lot of the time we find the wrong struggle for us. So what I mean by that, if you have kids, you have kids, and you love them, that's a struggle, but you enjoy it, you enjoy being with them. Sometimes we're in a job and it's a struggle and it's not the job we want to be in. So I found that out very quickly, and you got to go back to your values and find what you value. We don't live by our values. We set goals and we do this. I don't do that. I go, what do I want? What do I want? And are they true to my values? I come up with 5 values. And I try to live by them. But you got to remember, your values change as you do with your life. You're not the same person as you were in your 20s. If you wrote a value of success in your 20s, I want to get top of the charts in my work or college or whatever it is. Your success may be to be the best father or mother for your kids. Our success isn't a value. So you need to know what your values are, because then when you know what your values are, you live true to yourself. Life is worth it, right? And human connection, it's about human connection. It's about our family. It's about our friends. When we're depressed, when we're anxious, we remove ourselves from those people. When we're in their presence, we aren't fully in their presence. We have this mask on, and that's what I explain in the book. Is I wore a mask all the time, a mask from every occasion. I'll never put that mask up again. That's why my name is Neil Kelders. My website is Neil Kelders. Everything is Neil Kelders. That's what I promised myself. So, guys, life is a struggle. Will you get 10 out of 10? You can make life perfect for your little area. Perfection doesn't exist, but it can be perfect for now. But what you have to realize is you have to move. You don't stay still. What happens, a lot of us, is we find something we love to do or whatever, and we think that's it. And we stay in this comfort zone. We don't push those little boundaries out. We don't push ourselves to go beyond those. That comfort zone, for me, when I was in it, when everything seemed rosy, was actually destroying me inside. I was actually falling back into my depression and my anxiety. So do push yourself, test yourself. What I do is I say for this year, for example, what's my one want in my professional life? What's my one want in my personal life? And then what I do is every month I say, what's my want that will step me closer to the bigger want? Okay? And so my personal life is I'm learning Greek. I'm going to be fluent in Greek by the end of this year. That's it. And you said it at the start, it's the journey of that. I'm going to meet new people, okay? I'm going to connect with the class. I'm going to meet a new teacher. I'm going to speak with new people in a different language. I'm going to develop skills that I didn't know I had, social skills. I'm going to go for dinner with different groups. So it's not just learning the language, it's the journey and exploring what else I can do with that. Yeah? I can go to Greece now on a holiday and just order off the menu in Greek. But then it's the connections with people, it's the classes, it's all that. It's not just learning Greek. So when you set a want, explore around it, not just the thing. TED Talks, I said I want to do a TED Talk. So what do I have to do there? I have to meet new people like yourself. I have to go on new podcasts. I have to spread out to more countries. I have to, I'm developing myself and I'm meeting new people, and it's a connection as well. So my professional isn't all about work. It's very much personal and relaxed about meeting new people. So the idea is this life is worth it, guys, without question. And you know what? You are worth it. You are worth a place on this earth. You mightn't feel it right now, but you are worth a place, and you are worth time. And your family and friends deserve a chance to help you. Don't take that chance away from them. Don't take that chance away from them. So what I mean by that is give them the chance, talk to them, let them know what's happening, give them the chance to get involved and help you, rather than never have that chance and only attend whatever happens after. Okay? So, believe that life is worth it, and find your struggles that will help you.
The book is called The Other Side. It's by Neil Kelders, a memoir of hope in the midst of depression. It's out now. We'll put a link in the notes, Neil, so people can check out the podcast notes and find the links to that as well. Thank you so much for your time, for being so open and honest about your journey, and really appreciate you joining us on the program today.
Mick, thank you very much. It was great, and thanks for an open conversation. It was really good. Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed this week's podcast. Thanks for checking out Mental Health Monday. My name is Mick Coyle. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Mick Coyle. You can also find me, Mick Coyle, on Facebook as well. Don't forget, if you want to speak to somebody about your mental health, you can do so. The Samaritans, free to call on 116 123. You can find mental health services where you are. Just look for the Hub of Hope. Type in your postcode. It'll find those mental health services close to you. And for support in a crisis, you can text SHOUT to 85258. That's if you're experiencing a personal crisis, you're unable to cope and need support. Shout to 85258. That's a text line. Do get involved in those services. In an absolute emergency, always remember the number to call is 999. Thanks for downloading the podcast this week. We'll be back next week with more Mental Health Monday.